Hi everyone, it's Denise and welcome back to Dobby Books. Happy Saturday, and this is the 8th of August. And today I just have, I guess, a little quick book haul. It's been, hold on, this is crooked. There we go. It's sort of an odd collection. There were twice this week when I was doing some rideshare. For some reason, I had a lapse in time, or I needed to take a break or something, and then there was a library there that I've gone to a lot, and they always have their Friends of the Library section where you can look at all the books that are for sale. So I texted my husband and I said, you know, finished for now. I'm stopping over at the library to buy, more books that I don't need. I'll be home soon. He got a laugh out of that. And I was looking over the books and they're just so odd. I don't think any one of them are really related to each other, and they're just such different genres. So I was in a weird mood, I guess. And you know what? One of them I know I really wanted. One is a recent inspiration, if you will, and the other two are just sheer curiosity. I wouldn't have said, "Oh, this is the one I want" before I went there. I just saw them and thought, "Hmm, okay, let me see what this has to say." So here we go. The one that I really wanted, that I'd been eyeballing at other locations and thought to myself, Mom had one of these forever and she always used it. Too bad I didn't keep it, but let's see if they have a more recent edition of it. So I saw it there at the Friends of the Library sale. This is I'll show it to you in just a minute. This is which edition is this? I'm looking for the year of publication. 2007. And this is something those of us who live on the West Coast will recognize. Western Garden. I mean, this is like the Bible for gardeners. Those of you who live on the East Coast, is there one called Eastern Garden? I was trying to think when I lived in PA way back then, did I ever see one that said Eastern Garden? And I don't remember, but it might be. But this is Western Garden. And now that I've been sort of dipping my hand into gardening a little bit more these days, I wanted one of these because, I have things like my hydrangeas, which I love, and I love the blue ones. And I have 3 different ones I'm working with, and sometimes they look like they're dying, and I manage to bring them back to life, and other ones are thriving, and I can't figure out why. One year I trimmed them back, which you're not supposed to do. There's a specific way to trim hydrangeas, and I learned the hard way that you don't do it that way, and it took that poor little hydrangea a couple of years before it finally recovered. But this book is fabulous because it's just so chock full of information and illustrations, and this is just something you could turn to over and over and over again. And this is a European pear, all the different pears. Good gosh. And the zones that grow best in, the fruit that they make, comments about it. Goodness sakes, look at this. 2 pages. It's so comprehensive. Really, this is a handy thing to have, and it cost me $1. So yeah, I'm game. The next one I found there was in the bargain section. The books were only 25 cents, and I'd heard about this author. I'd heard him speak on some sort of interview. I don't remember whether it was YouTube or some podcast several years back. And I found out about him during the early stages after my daughter died, like I'd say within the first year or two. So these names would come up. And this is one of them. His name is Michael Newton, Ph.D. And the title of the book is called Destiny of Souls. And I think I remember I listened to an audiobook of this. And this deals with if they believe in reincarnation and what have you, and there's of course that time period before a person comes to Earth, right, and then the time that they're on this Earth, and then they go back, and then at some time period they'll return as a baby again. So that's basic reincarnation. But what this addresses is that time in between, after the person dies, goes back the spirit world. What happens in that interim? What are they doing? What are they learning, if anything, before they decide to come back? I thought that was interesting. I thought, interesting. Okay, so I'm going to read that. And that's just the kitty cat. She wants to leave. All right. And then I saw this book the first time I went, decided against it, but said, you know what? This is something that it's history. And because I like to collect histories from different perspectives, especially now American history, from the conservative perspective, more liberal perspective. Hold on. If you're hearing a noise in the background, that's my fan. I have it in the window and it's blowing full blast because our air conditioning died 2 or 3 weeks ago during this hot period, and we had to learn how to live without it for a little while. So I apologize if it's bothering you. All right, so going back to histories, particularly American histories from both sides of the fence, I get curious to see what one side has to say, what they're basing their information on. Sometimes I can't go any further, I don't know, than the first couple of chapters, and I got to put it down because I'm frustrated. And other times I'm able to go a little bit farther, but I like the fact that I want to read where they're coming from. So this one is an adaptation of the regular one, the original title, but this one is for young readers. So it's From Sea to Shining Sea. I remember seeing this title when I was homeschooling my kids way back. This was one of the books offered, the original, From Sea to Shining Sea. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this may have a Catholic perspective, or no. No, I think this is just a standard evangelical Christian perspective. I want to get the original one too, just so that I have the set. But I was curious. Let me read this. It's they're shortened chapters, and I think it's well put together. Let's see what they have to say and how they're. There's the Louisiana Purchase, and everything's being presented as like a story, which is really neat. So for the younger audiences. So I'm going to go ahead. The authors are Peter Marshall and David Manuel. I believe this was originally published back in the 1990s. And then the last one I found is Ronald Reagan: An American Life. This is his own biography. He put this together himself. Why Ronald Reagan? Well, number one, I do have the President's Project. I haven't gotten very far, but this is going to come in handy when I get to this particular time in history. He's also significant because he was the very first president that I was finally old enough to vote for. During his first term, I was still in high school. But when he ran for his second term, I was already 18, so I was able to vote for him, and he's the one I voted for. And I think back how little I knew back then, but that's okay, right? We all learn. And I hadn't really been drawn to read anything about him for a while because, now that I'm older and I see the policies that he put into effect and I see how some of that has rolled downhill, and it hasn't done us very well right now. There's just one is, since he's writing about himself, his life, and his time in office, I like that perspective, that first person perspective. I think it's important to know that of any president. And number two, I have to say, I never stopped liking Ronald Reagan, the person. I know he's always very charismatic and what have you. And in spite of the fact that I don't agree with him politically, he as a person, I know he was someone who was a pleasure to know, a good friend. He was great for our diplomacy. You have to give him credit for that. I think there were a lot of positives with the person, Ronald Reagan. Maybe this will help me get to know him better. His name kept popping up, whether it was in a podcast or an article I was reading or something on YouTube. He kept popping up. And so it sort of stayed in the back of my mind because when things like that happen, I kind of take them as guidance for whatever reason. I don't know at the time why, but I've learned the hard way that, when you get those little nudges, just follow through. Don't worry about figuring it out just now. So I got this also at Friends of the Library, and it was $1. Look at this monster, $1. It originally sold for $18 in the USA. When was this published? It was published in 1990. 26 plus another 10 years, 36 years ago. It was just 18 bucks. Something this big was 18 bucks. So that's basically what I got, everybody. I'm still reading through Paradise, Dante's Paradise, my final part of the Divine Comedy. I am really thrilled that I'm reading through this. This is a wonderful, wonderful poem and story, and all the information and all the perspectives you can get from this. It's just really rich and wonderful work of literature. It really is. So I'm still going through that. I'll talk about that later today. I just wanted to show you my little mini book haul and weird book haul, but it was fun nonetheless. So have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you probably Monday or Tuesday. And be safe. I love you all. I'll see you in just a few days. Bye-bye.